I am so sorry about that for the guys that were on earlier. I do apologize. Um, my wife had called, so the things that happen sometimes during the live, but that's what it's all about. So, again, for those who are just tuning in now or get ready to come back to this whole platform, my name is Kerry. Been playing guitar for over 20 years, been playing professionally for a very long time, been teaching for a very long time. I've taught people all over the world and played for some of your favorite artists like Ty Dolla Sign, Two James, Sean Kingston, Jason Derulo, Lettucey, Melanie Fiona, Chrisette Michelle, Grace Weber, Keanu Lede, a whole host of people. Um, and I do this just to share information. It's not just to try to, show how big I am or whatever. It's just really just showing information, sharing information. So I do this from time to time just to let people know, like, if you have a question that you want to get answered, or if you want to talk to somebody that's done it at a high level or the highest level that's doing it currently, you know, you can ask me and I will tell you. So that's the reason why we do this conversation with Carrie. First of all, and I tell people when they come into the room too, say what city you're from. This is a great networking tool. You never know if you'll find somebody that's like got the same city as you that wants to network and connect, whatever. You can definitely do that too. So I would say also too, just you want to connect and network. So this is a great opportunity to do that. I would like to apologize for the people that were on before that happened to get kicked off or my stream paused or whatever. My wife called or whatever, so that's the reason why that happened. So I just want to let you guys know. I'm back. What's quality acoustics uh, guitar do you want? Right now, I'm a fan of Taylor, so I have a Taylor 714 CE. I think that that's to me right now is one of the best guitars that I've played in a long time. And I played a lot of different acoustic guitars. And I backline. Usually, I use a backline like a Gibson. I think it's like a JS 500 or something like that. Roll Tide, that's what's up in the house, definitely. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of Taylor guitars. Um, Congratulations on your appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. But yeah, if you're talking about acoustics, there are a lot of different ones. You got to find something that feels good in your hands. I like something that with a smaller neck, not a fat neck. So that's what I like to do. Um, other than that, how are you doing? I'm great. I'm great. Any tips for improving speed? Play with a metronome. Get a metronome. If you get one on your phone or one on your laptop or your computer, whatever, play with the metronome. That's the best way in order to increase speed. Are you about to hit 100K? Yeah, man. I appreciate that, Johnny. That's what it's. I'm trying. I'm trying. Yeah, yo. If you got to get your mama, your cousins in them to just subscribe, I'm trying to get to 100K, man. Help me out. Do you do your own setups? No, I have a tech. I'm not that savvy when it comes to gear. I know what gear I want, but I don't know how to put it together. So I always get a tech to put together. And techs know how to make that stuff nice and neat. They're different. There are a lot of different people that know how to make that stuff nice and neat. And I'm really OCD about how the presentation of how my gear looks. So that's something that I think about, just making sure I go to somebody that knows how to do what they're doing. What was your first guitar? I think my first guitar was a Fender Squire. How about your D'Angelico acoustic? Nah, it was a cool acoustic, but it's just like it's hands down the playability just does not compare to what I have with a Taylor. I'll get everyone to subscribe. I can. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Are you still using the Boss Me 80? I use it every day for like home recordings. And then when I'm usually, for the most part, then when I'm making like YouTube videos for you guys, I use it in those particular videos. Yeah, man. If you could afford to get a Boss ME 80, I think it's definitely a game changer. You should definitely do it. So I would suggest doing it. Yeah. Ba-ba. Why do you think? Why do I think black women who play guitar never get their flower? I honestly I don't know. That's a real good question. That's a really really good question. What's your creative mindset for making melodic sequences? If I can sing the lines, if I can sing it, then I think it's catchy enough for me to try to create. So I try to sing and make sure it's something that I like. So usually when I'm creating, I'll come up with like a 4 or 8 bar loop. Then I'll just keep looping it and then I'll just kind of play on top of that. I want to think of stuff that I can sing. If I can sing it, then I feel like it's catchy. Those are some really good questions. All right. Do you do a lot of tracking in guitar recordings? Yes, I do tracking in guitar recordings probably at least once a week, but probably more than that. I'm just being modest. There are times that I may be recording um, probably 4 or 5 times a week, but at least once a week. I'm always getting called for something. The last thing I got called to do was last night. This morning was an acoustic thing for a client. So yeah, it happens. I get called to do different kind of stuff. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Morning, everybody. Those that are on the West Coast for sure. Those that are on Central Time, those are on the East Coast. Good afternoon. Hope you've had a good one so far. Um, yeah, man, just like enjoying the Saturday, you know what I'm saying? So hey Kerry, do you have any vibrato practice techniques to apply during a practice section? So vibrato, it depends on if I want to use it with my hands or if I want to do it with the tremolo bar, depending on what I'm playing with. You always want to be subtle. Don't overcompensate and do it too much because the people that sing like that's you don't want to hear that when people are singing. You want a nice tone with this. So think the same thing with the guitar. You want to be nice and subtle with it. What are something I can do to get my guitar to playing to cut through when I'm playing with a live band? It just depends on your amp. And then it depends on if you're mic'd, you know what I mean? So that's one of the things now. If you're trying to overplay drums and bass, 9 times out of 10, depending on the size of your amp, it ain't gonna work and it's gonna break up the louder you try to make it. So you may want to be mic'd, you want to be positioned differently. Just various things like that you can do. Speaking of recordings, do you have an hourly rate? Uh, just paid off royalties or both? So when I do it, it depends on who I'm talking to. So if it's like a person who may be like not a professional, then I will talk about I won't do hourly rates. I do a flat rate. If you want me to play, this is how much it is. And I require my payments up front because I've been doing this for a long time and people are 9 times out of 10 don't like to pay. So I'm like, if you want me to play on a record, this is my flat rate. This is how you can pay me. And expect to see payment before. Once I see payment, my turnaround time is really quick because I'm professional. I stay on top of my craft. Now, if it's like a professional person, like an artist or whatever, then we'll talk about royalties and we'll talk about splits. We'll talk about like how many points depending on what that is. So that's usually how I work it out. They sing like what? So like you have a lot of singers. So if you listen to singers, some singers have vibrato, so they have too much vibrato, and it's just like it's overkill. So that's what I was giving an example for. I can't sing, so I had to give the example of what it sounds like. Um, her is the first black female with her own Fender guitar. I think so. I think she is. What's up, man? Missed you last week. Yeah, man, I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. The love about the new baby. Um, what was the first price of your gear you got? I don't even know, man. That was so many years ago. It was, and I think back then, Nuncie's was like the music store that I went to back in Birmingham. So there was no Guitar Center, there was no nothing. I went to Nuncie's, so I don't even know what the price of whatever I got. Just make it fun, because I knew exactly what you were talking about. Oh, it's just funny. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. What was one of the songs that you're on with Lettucey? I'm not on any songs with Lettucey. I'm not on any of her records. I've only just played for her live when we've done like acoustic shows. I've done on tour with her, but I didn't do anything in the studio. So this last project that just came out, that's JMO on guitar. So JMO is the one that played on those records. For those that have been asking, I've been hit with that question a couple different times. Um, yeah, that's not me on guitar. That's JMO. All right, all right, all right. How about you play over a drum track? Depends on how the track flows. You want to be mindful to kind of make sure whatever composition that you come up with flows with the track. You're not playing something that's off time, off kilter. You got to find out what the track is, feel the beat, like just make sure that whatever chord progression that you come up with actually, it accompanies the drum loop correctly. Do you demand writer or production credits for your tracking sections, and how do you get your credit? So Jeffrey, it just depends on who it is. If I'm the main person that comes up with the melody, then yes, I'm demanding, depending on like whatever artist, because there are a lot of artists that have different stipulations saying that, like, listen, I know I didn't like write or compose a song, but in order for me to, like, to get a placement, I want this much of such and such. So it's up to you to be like, if you want to do it or if you don't want to do it. That will determine like how it works. But usually, like, it's a cool conversation. People respect your craft, respect what you're doing, at that level. So it varies. Every artist is different. There's no blanket, like, I always demand 50%. It all differentiated, because you never know, like, did you do this on the track, or did you just come up with this? Then they start to get real super technical. So just um, you know, be apt to make adjustments if you need to, of your mindset, if you're trying to get placements. Do you just play R&B, or do you experiment with other genres? Daniel, I play a lot of different genres. I play pop, I play gospel, I play singer songwriter. Um, I've even played some heavy metal. I've played a lot of different genres. Where do you get these crazy dope chord progressions? Here and here. My head and my heart. That's where I get it from. That's it, man. It's just my creativity. Everybody's got their own, like, voice, and just based upon your own voice determines like how you create. That's why I said, like, me teaching you guys guitar and sharing you like the tools, so you can know, like, when it's time for you to create your own vibe, you can definitely do that. Some good questions this morning. If you're brand new to this channel, please subscribe, please click the bell to be notified, because from time to time I'm just going to hop on here and not just do like lives, but I'm actually going to teach different concepts. So I definitely don't want you to miss out on the heat that we're bringing. Um, but yeah, is it important to learn modes? In my opinion, I would say no, because it's not necessary. It's not going to teach you how to play. Now, is it good information to have? Like, if you're trying to look to go even deeper, like if you've mastered a lot of things, yeah. But most people that know how to do modes are, you have some people who are so technically savvy, but their application sucks. Don't be that person. You got to find a balance. So I'm kind of person, like, being in the military for a long time, I don't like to carry unnecessary weight. So to me, in my own opinion, I feel like modes is unnecessary weight, because nobody's going to ask you, hey man, what mode are you playing while you're soloing, while you're doing whatever. It's just useless information. You know what I mean? In my opinion. In my opinion. It says, what do you think when you're soloing? It just depends. It depends on certain things. So number one, the chord progression. And then two, I like to sing lines. So if you hear me playing or whatever, I like to sing my lines when I'm playing. So I don't want to just give you like scales. I want to make the joint feel like somebody is singing. So that's what I try to do. It's one of the main things that I'm thinking about. And then also I want to think about my starting and my ending. Those are the most important things I like to think about. What would you say are the most important things to learn? Most important things to learn. You need to learn chords. You need to learn notes. You need to learn timing. You need to learn rhythms and strum patterns. All right, Jeffrey. Yeah, do that. Yeah, message me on Instagram, and we'll continue to talk. Uh, how would you set your amp in a live setting? How does that differ from the studio? So in the studio, 9 times out of 10, I don't use an amp in the studio. I usually plug in direct. Now live, it just depends on if we have a front of the house engineer, like how we want to mic. Like, some people like to put the microphone off the cone, on top of the cone. Like, it all varies. Um, so it just all just depends. Just because you're loud doesn't mean it's gonna be nice. So you have to find the right kind of balance. Some situations you play with in-ear monitors. Some people play with just monitor wedges on stage. It just all depends what you use. So there's a lot of different scenarios. You want to find you a good engineer that knows how to ensure that your sound overall sound quality will be great. When do you feel the most creative? When do I feel the most creative? It varies. I mean, sometimes it could be in the morning or sometimes it could be throughout the day. It just really depends on what I've heard, what I've listened to, what I've seen. I've seen you play Marshall and Fender. What is your preference and why? So the only reason why you see me play a Marshall amp is because I was doing a pop gig. And the only reason why you see me play a Fender is because they don't have whatever amp that I would normally request on backline. It depends on the gig. Now, if I'm playing pop, I like Marshalls and I like Mesa Boogie rectifiers. If I'm playing R&B or gospel, then I tend to like go to Mesa Boogie, um, and then Fender as a failsafe. For soloing, how do you make sure you don't play dissonant notes that don't fit in the chord? You have to be mindful to have like pick accuracy, like making sure you're hitting the right strings, making sure that so I practice solos before I even get to an opportunity to solo, so that way I know how to approach soloing. So that means I may practice with different vibes, I may create my own vibes, I may just create whatever. So the more you can do it, the easier it'll be for you to kind of pick out and know, like, I want to stay away from those notes because that can kind of be too dissonant. I don't want to do that because it's not that kind of gig. You know what I mean? Kerry, I've been trying to master drop two voicings. Any advice? I've never played drop two, so I wouldn't know how to help you. I'm sorry. I wish I knew more about it, but I don't know how to do that. So I've never done it. Got a few more people on the line. Tell us about your tour experience, if any. Yeah, I've had plenty of tour experience. So my first time on a bus tour was very awkward because I'd never done it before. So like understanding how to get it in and off my bunk, out of my bunk was like because I had the middle bunk was crazy. And then understanding that one of the bunks on the bus is called a junk bunk. I never knew anything about that. So um that was kind of odd. So just like yeah, just living on a bus was kind of crazy. And then understanding like when I had texts that I didn't necessarily had to break down all my equipment. I was so used to doing that before from just playing like local scenes. Like, no, the techs were like, "Oh, we got it, we got it. You just go do what you got to do." So I didn't understand about that. And then also understanding how you have the green rooms, and then they have like stuff for you in the green room. They would ask you what you want on your rider. I never knew the term rider before. Even when it came to my gear, I didn't know what they were talking about. So like, what do you have in your rider? What's on your guitar rider? And I just had to make up stuff. Then I started to understand what that meant. Like, what kind of equipment do you normally use? Like, I wanted like depending on how many guitars I had, I needed two Hercules stands. If I had a acoustic, I wanted a certain kind of DI for that acoustic. I wanted certain kind of cables. I wanted an A and B switch between certain amps because sometimes I would usually play with two amps. There's a lot of different things that you would figure out on tour that you never had to do before, or even how to shower at the venues. Like every venue doesn't have a shower, or trying to manage your time. So there's a lot of things that I learned on tour. Let's go back and see. Okay, just got here. What does the July date mean? I'm not sure. I don't know what you're referring to. Um, how do I do that double stop movement in the minor chord? If you go to carriescamp.com, I have lessons that talk about the double stop movement. Tips for playing cleanly when practicing. You want to ensure that your amp is not dirty, and then you want to ensure that you're working on your pick attack and your string accuracy, pick accuracy as well. I can't believe I'm chatting with you. Love your work and your channel. It means a lot. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. What are your go-to intervals when improvising? I don't know that I have go-to intervals. It all depends on the nature of the song. I don't have a go-to like, oh, whenever they're playing this, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. Like a lot of stuff, I have a really good ear, and so I just trust what my heart leads me to do. Because after a while, like when you start playing guitar, you want to think too much. You want to play from your heart. play what you feel versus trying to think about it. Because that way you get so technical, it sounds really robotic, and you're missing that feeling. You know what I mean? What is a good cheap delay pedal? TC Electronics, in my opinion, makes a good delay pedal. The Flash, I think it's called the Flashback, is really good. Do you practice playing chords in different positions every day? So you can play the progression with various. Yeah, so like if you go on kerryscamp.com, I talk about that all the time. Now that's camp with a K. So it's KERRYSKAMP.com. And I talk about playing the progression in various places because sometimes it's closer, you have it closer depending on where the progression is, or tonally it sounds a little different. Says, do you produce your music? Yes. Or do you work with one? I produce a lot of my music and I work with different production teams. That's just the nature of how it works. When you like, it's like being a part of a team when you play sports. You can't do everything. Some people are better at some certain things than I am. So, m- partnering with certain people, certain producers, that way you can have like an amazing arraignment of music. I don't know if you'll see this, but would love to have a conversation with you. I love your videos. I would love to ask you some things. You can ask me here. I got those strings you recommended, nickel ones. The guitar sounds way better now. That's what's up. That's what's up. How long have you been playing? I've been playing over 20 years, like 25, 26 years. I'm in your stream. Oh, so what happened was conversations. It says, what's the stream title? Conversations with Kerry just went on July. It might just be a stamp that was up there from like it just kind of stays up there. That doesn't mean anything specific. What are the best exercises for string articulation? Literally going one finger up each fret. Like for the first four frets, you got four fingers, so one finger on each fret, playing all the strings down. Move to the next fret, all the strings down. Next fret, until you get to the double dots. That's a great way to work on string accuracy. Great to hear about your family growing. God bless you. Appreciate that. It says, when you're working with other producers, how do you get your points across without getting overshadowed? It's just a conversation. I think, people, it's like a mutual respect. So it's just about having a conversation. You either could bring it up or be like, hey, man, before we get started or whatever, or after we did something, like, yeah, I'd love to talk about the points so that we can get the paperwork out the way. If you're really nonchalant about how you say it and not be like just being like, yo, I want to get this, I want to get this. Some people get really pushed off by that and just be like, oh man, this person is whack. So just having like a very kind of casual conversation sometimes can be very beneficial. Great lesson. However, can you give lessons on how to play jazz chords on guitar? Like, so if you want to know about different jazz chords or chords that I use, you can go to carriescamp.com. I have a whole video chord library that will show you how to use the chords and what chords I use. What guitar item would be on your Santa list? Right now I'm looking at a Tom Anderson Raven, Bullet Green. That's on my list. I'm thinking about getting a Jazz Master. Um, How does the stability of the tremolo compare to that of Strats and PRS? So I don't use the on my Jazz Master that I have now. I don't really use the tremolo, but I've used it once or twice, but I don't use it like for everyday use. It seems like it is just as comparable. The reason why I don't use it is because I don't like that arm placement. I like the way that PRS has their tremolo system, so that's why like I'm leaning towards getting a Tom Anderson Raven, which is set up like a Jazz Master. So that's something that I'm thinking about doing. Has the pandemic influenced your thoughts on live performances in the future? I don't know. Like, I think people will have to be creative. Because if they, I mean, I think people are creative now. I've seen some people doing like performances outside, social distancing. I've played a couple of different live performances. I've done virtual performances and I've done like drive-through gigs, like where we're performing on stage and people will come and they drive. So I've seen various things. I think people will be very creative how they will make things happen um, in the future. when it comes to that, like live performances. Any advice for someone looking to get into touring slash higher gun circuit? Do you keep playing and someone will find your way? So Jeffrey, I would say like you have to go into the markets where people are securing their bands, right? You have to go to jam sessions. You have to start to network to get into that whole like atmosphere because most of the people that hire you will be like musical directors, or there may be a bass player or a drummer or a keyboard player that may be like, yo, I got a situation where they're looking for a guitar player, they're looking for such and such. And then that's how you kind of get connected. Um, People are not going to necessarily reach out to you and be like, oh, we want you to play, unless you happen to kind of be into the general area. So for me, I'm originally from Birmingham in the house. I had to move to Los Angeles in order to kind of get into that circuit. How do you incorporate other guitars' licks into your own plan? Like, how do you practice it? I don't use other guitar players' licks. So, but if you wanted to do it, you would just find a song that you already knew, and then practice looping it and playing it around. Have you ever played with Joe Cleveland? Yes, I played with Joe Cleveland many a times. Do you have a Telly? Yes, I have a Sir Telly Classic T. It's white with a black pickguard. Has a humbucker in the front position and the regular pickup in the bridge. What are the chances of making music my career? That's a tough thing. Now, Brittany, I don't know you from anybody, so I don't want to like discourage you. I'm just gonna say I'm gonna just be honest with you. Trying to make it playing music is a very difficult thing because there's a lot of ebbs and flows when it comes to music. Especially now with the pandemic hitting, there's a lot of tours that were scheduled to happen that aren't happening, that are got pushed back. We don't know if they will or will not happen. A lot of TV dates. There's no consistency. If you're in a where you're looking for comfortability, like music may not be for you, or like you may want to secure the bag, like doing a regular 9 to 5 or like part time something. It's not set up for everybody. Everybody can't do it because it's a hard life to get started, And once you get started, you can kind of get everything flowing, but you need to do multiple things. You don't need to just tour. You need to tour. If you can teach, you need to teach. You need to do session stuff. You need to be on records. You got to do a whole bunch of stuff in order to make a living doing music because there are a lot of times where like you thought a tour was going to happen, it didn't happen, and then you're sitting there like, what am I supposed to do? So you have to be extremely good with your finances. You got to plan. You got to be a great networker. You got to be able to, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of stuff that goes into you trying to make a living doing music, especially now since the pandemic hits. It's probably going to be a lot different than what it was before. I know I can talk here, but since I'm at work, if you want to hit me up on Instagram, you can follow at Carry Too Smooth and just reach out to me on Instagram. How much would you charge to be featured on an instrumental track? Baseface Entertainment, email me at carry too smooth. I'm sorry, carry too smooth at gmail.com. Just email me and then we can talk. What are some of the pedals on your pedal board? So I have the Line 6 M5. I have a Empress Effects Reverb. I have a Tim Pierce Overdrive. I have a Keeley D&M. I have the Keeley RE. I have the Steel Strings by Vertex. I have a TC Electronic Tuner. I have a Dunlap volume paddle. I think that's it. I'm trying to recall. I mean, I have a couple different pedal board setups. That's like one of my main boards that I use. Could you please play something acoustic on your way out today? Walter, I would love to, but like as you see, I'm downstairs, so I'm not in my studio because I have a lot of things I need to get done. As being a new dad, I gotta get bottles together. So I mean, I'm not gonna play for you guys. Will not be playing any guitar for you today. Any special tips for better solos? Emmanuel, if you want to really understand how to solo better, go to carriescamp.com. That is KERRYSKAMP.com. And we have a whole setup talking about how to solo. Um, Do you know Kerry Wilkins? I do not know him. Ever tried the Eventide? No, I never tried the Eventide. The line 6 and 5 is kind of like the Eventide. It's not as nice, but yeah, it's kind of like the Eventide. Cool, base face. Let me see if there's a couple more questions before I just start getting this stuff together. How did I know I was ready for my first tour? That's a good question. How did I know? I think I just got tired of seeing everybody else doing it, and I was like, "Yo, I've been practicing on the Chitlin circuit for a long time. I've been playing locally for a long time. I'm tired of subbing. I just want to go do it." Now there's a lot of stuff that I had to learn on the fly. One thing I'm really good at is like learning really quickly and learning how to make adjustments. But I just felt like I had the chops, like I had the chords. I felt like I could play just like everybody else. So they gave me my first shot. My first shot was really good. There's a lot. I had a lot of, growing pains, but I learned a lot. And then from there, I was a genuinely a great person. That's what you have to remember when it comes to tours. Not necessarily about your talent always. It's about are you a good person? Because you're really on the stage maybe for an hour, 2 hours, but you're on the tour bus for like hours, like 6, 7, 8 hours, 12 hours. And if you're a horrible person, nobody wants to take you out on the road anyway. And could you take me from an intermediate to an advanced? Yes, Caleb, I can take you from intermediate to advanced. That's what we have a progressive map that shows you how to do your progress, how to gain where you should be at so many months as being an intermediate in order to get to an advanced player. And how do you get from an intermediate to an advanced guitarist and how much? So, Caleb, if you got a question about how much it costs, I need you to email support@carry2smooth.com with all of that question. Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to lose track of who I was talking to. So if you could do that, that would be great. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm gonna take one more question because then I gotta get ready to go for daddy duty. You understand what I'm saying? I gotta do daddy duty in a couple. It says, where do you buy big name instrument? It says, where do you buy big name instrument stores or small local instrument stores? I don't go to instrument stores anymore. Honestly, I'm at a place in my career where I can reach out to specific brands and just say, this is what I want to do. So, like, Tom Anderson is a boutique shop, a boutique builder. They have some really amazing guitars. I'm reaching out specifically directly to their A&R. So I don't have to go to a store per se. Now, I'm not saying that I won't go to a store. I'm just saying right now I don't have to go to a store for anything. But I may go into a store and see something and then be like, oh, I want to get that. But I have a lot of guitars, so I really don't feel like I need to purchase a lot. So that's why I'm able to kind of like be like, oh, I'll just go to the builder and just be like, yo, can you make something custom for me or whatever? Hey, Carrie, is Bill Weathers just the two of us a good R&B song to learn as beginner? Sure, Crystal. Yeah, it's good. All right, I'm gonna take one more question and I got to get ready to go. Dun, 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 dun. Can you recommend any of your session work on Spotify with specific albums or anything? So if you want to check out my specific stuff, you can go look up for Carry Too Smooth. I have a project out called Puppy Love. If you want to listen to Jacquees, King of R&B, track number 11. If you want to listen to Tank's Savage album, Only One. And then I have a lot of productions. Grace Weber has a new track that just a new project that came out. Um, I'm playing on a few, like maybe 3 tracks out of that EP. I'm playing on a lot of different projects. So I can't think of everything off the top of my head because I don't keep track of it. I have a publisher that does everything. So how have you not answered my question? Billy, what is your question? You'll be the last one today, Billy. Billy. I've already reached out to Orangewood. They wanted me to come shoot some content, but the only reason I don't live in LA anymore, so but I already have an Orangewood. Orangewood sent me a guitar already. So oh my god. Come on, Billy. You're the last one. Please, I said when I'm playing C from chords, form chords, C form chords. Okay, what else? My hand pains me. So what I would tell you to do, Billy, if you're having problem, like number one, you can check out the action of your guitar. Maybe the action is too high on your guitar, right? Secondly, you may want to do stretching exercises before you play. And then you may want to look at, like, depending on if your hands are too small or whatever, finding a neck that's going to allow you to do what you got to do. Okay, so those are some things you can focus on doing in order to make your guitar playing a lot better. All right, I gotta get ready to go because it's daddy duty time, and I don't want to forget something. So I love you guys. You guys are great. You guys keep doing what you do, and I will talk to you guys later. Love you guys. Have a good one.